The most dangerous illusion a man can harbor is that his intentions possess intrinsic market value. We are tagged from Little League to the Ivy League, that the purity of purpose shields us from true fault. We grant ourselves moral credit simply for harboring the desire to act well, to be better, to start tomorrow. But the universe does not trade in sentiment. It only accepts one currency: hard execution. We must understand the trap immediately. The good intentions trap is not merely procrastination. It is a sophisticated mechanism of psychological self-soothing that transforms potential into inertia. It is the quiet, internal pact you make with yourself that allows the man you are to avoid confronting the man you ought to be. It is the belief that the blueprint is somehow worth the foundation, the framing, and the 30-year mortgage combined. It is a spiritual form of tax evasion, where you substitute the costly, uncomfortable payment of disciplined effort with the bad checks of mental agreement. The hidden tax of this complacency is the erosion of rigor. Every intention not pursued, every ambition deferred, leaves a microscopic scar on the integrity of the self. This damage is cumulative. It teaches the subconscious that the gap between thought and deed is not a chasm of failure, but a comfortable resting place. This is why many competent men find themselves perpetually stuck in the stage of sophisticated preparation. They mistake the movement of their thoughts for the movement of the world. They are building mental skyscrapers that will never break ground, while the man focused only on digging the trench is already laying brick. We begin the diagnosis by observing the behavior of the man trapped in perpetual planning. This is not the careful strategist. This is the architect obsessed with the infinitely receding possibility of a better blueprint. His life is characterized by the endless acquisition of marginal information: one more book on finance before investing, one more TED Talk on leadership before delegating, one more year of market research before the idea. He believes that risk can be wholly eliminated through comprehensive preparation, failing to grasp that the point of maximum required rigor is the moment the planning stops and the vulnerability of game day begins. He uses planning not as a launchpad, but as a barrier against the messy, unpredictable reality of doing. The process becomes recursive. A new variable is introduced, requiring a plan revision, which requires further study, which justifies further delay. This pattern is often disguised as due diligence. The man will defend his inaction by pointing to the sheer volume of material he has consumed, the complexity of the Excel models he has built, or the number of scenarios he has anticipated. But look closely at the output. Does the preparation produce decisive narrowing of options, or does it produce expansive justification for remaining in stasis? The true test of a plan is not its complexity, but the velocity it generates towards the end zone. The trapped man is terrified of the definitive moment, the point of no return. As long as he is planning, the outcome remains perfect in his mind. The moment he acts, the outcome becomes fallible, vulnerable to external critique, and, crucially, vulnerable to his own failure. Therefore, he substitutes the feeling of preparation for the reality of achievement, and his intent to master the subject becomes a successful, albeit self-defeating, strategy for avoiding the field entirely. His ambition is held hostage by the fear of finality, ensuring his mental effort remains a high-entropy system producing zero ROI. Another profound symptom manifests as the evasion of necessary friction. The man of good intentions often uses the language of patience, understanding, or kindness as a shield against the bottom line of necessary conflict or confrontation. He intends to lead his family well, but refuses to establish difficult boundaries. He intends to improve his team, but avoids delivering the surgical, painful feedback required for growth. He conflates comfort with competency. This evasion is particularly insidious because it wears the guise of virtue. The man believes he is preserving harmony, when in reality, he is preserving a false peace built on decay. Imagine the structural integrity of a Navy destroyer. If the hull requires a painful, difficult weld, and the man responsible delays it out of a good intention to avoid disrupting the crew's sleep, that intent is malevolent. It prioritizes a moment of personal ease over the long-term survival of the whole. True strength, the quiet strength that matters, demands a willingness to be the necessary friction. It requires the capacity to tolerate being momentarily disliked or misunderstood for the sake of a higher, rigorous outcome. The man trapped in this loop believes that simply holding the intention to be a good husband or a good CEO absolves him of the requirement to apply the scalpel when infection is present. He avoids the sharp edge of responsibility. This avoidance always results in a downstream collapse. When the boundary is not set, the standard is not met. When the crucial, uncomfortable conversation is deferred, the man convinces himself he is being prudent or compassionate. But the deeper psychological truth is that he is protecting himself from the emotional capital required to hold others and himself to an exacting standard. He intends to fix the problem eventually, when it is easier, when the moment is right. But true leadership knows that the right moment is always the one that demands the highest courage, regardless of personal discomfort. He trades duty for ease, masking the transaction with a polite veneer of patience. Finally, we diagnose the sanctuary of hypothetical integrity. This is the condition where a man derives his sense of self-worth, not from his verifiable track record, but from the idealized self he maintains in his mind, the man he knows he would be if the circumstances were different. If the opportunity arose, or if the costs were lower, he possesses unsecured moral credit. He is the man who plans to give generously, but never audits his budget. He intends to be courageous, but systematically avoids scenarios that demand fortitude. He views his potential as an active asset, rather than a liability requiring constant servicing. This man lives in a state of suspended moral reality, where the unexecuted intention carries the same weight as the executed deed. Others, observing his actions, see a lack of commitment, a softness, a retreat from responsibility. But internally, he maintains a powerful narrative. They don't know the capacity within me. They don't know how serious I am about this goal. This creates a debilitating separation between internal identity and external evidence. Hypothetical integrity is stolen valor pinned to a chest that has never faced fire. It makes a man brittle, because his self-image relies on maintaining an untested, perfect version of himself, which is instantly shattered by the first taste of real-world failure or effort. The man who acts, fails, adjusts, and acts again possesses true integrity, forged in the heat of consequence. The man of hypothetical integrity, conversely, must avoid significant action precisely to keep his self-narrative intact. His good intentions become a protective comfort zone, shielding his fragility from the truth that his identity is built on sand. He is strong only in the absence of necessity. The moment pressure arrives, the difference between the man who intended to train and the man who trained is absolute. The prescription for escaping this trap is brutally simple, demanding a shift from the internal monologue of intent to the external measurement of impact. Stop auditing your thoughts and start auditing your calendar and your P&L statement. Intentions are data points only when they are logged as action items and assigned a measurable friction point. If you intend to be fit, the audit must show the sweat equity, not the diet plan on the fridge. If you intend to be disciplined, the audit must show the difficult refusal, the chosen deprivation, not the mental agreement to try harder tomorrow. The true measure of a man is found not in the noble sentiment he holds close, but in the verifiable rigor he applies to the world. Abandon the psychological comfort of the perfect intention. Embrace the glorious imperfection of the hard, daily, blue-collar grind. Let your output be the only definition you accept.